Well, welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. It is Stacey, your holistic nutritionist, plant-based coach, and lifestyle wellness mentor. I have an amazing guest with me today, Dr. Scott Harrington. He is a vegan doctor of over 20 years, and he has tons of experience, 20 years of experience in family and lifestyle medicine. He is the founder of veganprimarycare.com, where you can see a vegan doctor online as your primary care doctor. And he enjoys advocating for his patients and has helped many people come off of their medications by optimizing their health. If you need a vegan doctor, then get a doctor who gets you. That is who Dr. Scott Harrington is. And we are going to talk more about everything that he does today. And in particular, we're going to be covering weight loss, which I'm very excited about. So I want to make sure you know where to find him. We'll cover it at the end too, but Vegan Primary Care on Instagram. And Dr. Scott Harrington, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you here.
Yay, thank you for having me on. I'm really honored to be here.
I just recently heard your episode with Chef AJ talking all about the gut microbiome and bowel movements.
That's right. That was a very fun talk to do. Oh my gosh, you got to laugh about poop, right?
I mean, everybody does it. And it's just like, we're all so embarrassed to talk about it. But truthfully, it's like one of the signs of health. So we really should be, talking more about it. It should be an everyday conversation, I think.
Yeah. What's that saying? Like, go vegan, have huge dumps, right?
Yeah.
Turns out it's like, making us healthier the larger it is.
Right. And I mean, they've found fossilized feces that are huge. So it shows that our ancestors ate that way. And it's totally normal. So nothing to be ashamed of. Dr. Harrington, I'm really excited to have you on today because we're going to talk about weight loss. And as we wrap up 2023, which is the time of this recording, and we go into 2024, the new year, when everybody is so interested in losing weight, I want to talk to you all about that. But before we get into it, I want to hear your story. I want to hear where this all started for you, this health journey. I want to know if you went plant-based before you started your studies. And I want to know more about you. So why did you become a doctor? What intrigued you there? And then where in the world did the plant-based lifestyle come in?
Okay, yeah.
Tell me all.
I honestly, before I became a true believer in the plant-based diet, I kind of poo-pooed it a little bit. I was like, well, obviously you're gonna have, animal protein. So I didn't even think about it. It was like cognitive dissonance, right? So I went through life. I joined the Army. I went to West Point, and the Army sent me through, helped me become a doctor. Went to medical school through the Army. Then I became a family doctor. And, the Army has been great to me. I had great experiences. I worked with soldiers. I worked with special forces folks. And I, worked with their families. And I was always telling them about weight loss. Oh, you got to lose weight. Oh, you got to lose weight. And then what happened was, eating the standard American diet is that slowly 1 to 2 pounds a year of a high protein diet, I started to tack on weight. And by the time I was 35 and the Army makes you run, it's like, uh-oh, I need to be losing weight. So I decided to take my own advice. I was telling my patients, oh, you simply portion control. Oh, no problem. You just exercise a bunch and just starve yourself. You'll lose weight. And obviously that did not work. And then I hit this sort of emotional rock bottom. Like, God, I must be a bad doctor. I can't even lose weight. Maybe my willpower's bad. I don't know. Something's wrong. Maybe just everybody needs a gastric bypass when they're, 45 or something. These were the things that were going through my mind. Then a special forces guy was like, hey, check out this, whole food plant-based diet, forks over knives. And so I got on a plane. I watched Forks Over Knives. And by the time I landed, I was a vegan when I landed.
Oh my God.
Because I was in a place, I was ready to listen to the message, and I had failed like these other methods. And it was a real turning point for me. So that was in 2012. I went whole food plant-based, and I was able to lose 20 pounds, just steadily, easily, no problem. I felt satisfied. I had some medical problems. I had like sort of pre-hypertension or mild blood pressure, had mild blood sugar elevations, and those were completely cured after going plant-based. But I also had lifelong constipation, because I was eating a pretty low fiber diet. And so that was cured. My energy, even like my testosterone went up, like stuff that you wouldn't imagine, so I was singing it from the mountaintops, like, you wouldn't believe about this. The thing is I would tell my patients about it, and most people would they were in their own cognitive dissonance. They're like, no, you need to have, no one would buy into it. Basically, a smaller percentage of my patients would get the bug. And so this started to be sort of my secondary crisis. Like, I'm telling everybody about the plant-based diet, but nobody's listening, So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, it was actually a good time for me because I was able to let go of a practice, an in-person practice, and then just do online practice and reach out. Because I had figured that if my practice was surrounded around veganism, maybe locally, maybe I wouldn't have enough vegans in the area or something, and I would not be able to serve enough people. So by going online, I could, reach out to vegans all over. And so, I have 22 state licenses right now, and run vegan primary care and just do it through telemedicine. Locally in Florida, in the Tampa area, I see people in person on Fridays. But yeah, so it's just been great because I've been able to serve the vegan community. And my patients, sometimes people have been vegan for a long time. Sometimes, people are sick of having a doctor roll their eyes when they tell them they're vegan, or maybe you have a vegan child, or maybe you're not vegan and your kid wants to go vegan and you're worried about their health or something, and you can have somebody who's been there, done that, and advise you. So that's how I got from here to there.
Wow. So, okay, all right. So let's go back to this decision for you to go vegan. Okay. Because I want to know how that went for you, Dr. Harrington. I want to know when you started eating plants right away, and you said, I'm not going to eat any more animal products. I'm not going to have any more dairy, no more hard-boiled eggs, no more chicken fajitas. Like, what happened? Was that an easy transition for you? Because for me personally, I cut out meat and like chicken. I think it was like a whole year that I was like highly addicted to dairy, because I was like, oh my God, I got to get my protein somewhere. So I just started pounding the dairy, because I was like, I didn't know any better. And so it was kind of a slow thing. It was more like 1 to 2 years for me. You did this overnight. How'd that go?
It was, I'm glad you asked, because there were some hiccups. But when people have made up their mind, when all the chess pieces line up, it's off to the races. And until you sort of clear those barriers in people's minds, I think it's harder to resist the temptations and everything. So the background of the story is that my mom kind of influenced me. My mom was always kind of struggling with her weight, or, she would lose weight and kind of gain weight, just kind of very typical story. And she would read all the diet books. And one of the diet books that she had was McDougall's Starch Solution. And so she, but somehow we didn't get the message, like, just go vegan, right? But carbs are okay. But it was, plant-centered diet, and my mom was like talking, but I don't think that she forced the vegan thing on us. But so I had heard about the Starch Solution in the past, and then Healthy at 100, John Robbins books. My friend gave me Healthy at 100, and so I had read these books. But what was weird was, like, the message was kind of like rolling off like water off a duck's back or something. So I'd heard the message. It actually took me to fail and having sort of this health crisis thing for me, and see it personally, to actually change my mind. And so, like, on the flight, when I was watching it, seeing all these doctors, seeing, like, for instance, Dr. Furman in the movie, asking the patient, like, how many medicines do you take? And you have these 10 problems, and, like, okay, we're going to get rid of all these problems. And, and I sort of laughed when I first saw it, but then I started to understand. And it was just, once it became clear to me, it became clear the direction. And so that was the background. Now, once I actually started to do this, I actually made a mistake. I still had the carb fear. I still had the carb fear. So when we walk around, I joke around like the Terminator, like those scenes on the Terminator, they're like searching for their target. When you sit down late, you're like, where's the protein? And you're like you said, you're always searching for the protein. Well, for me, I was kind of like worried about carbs. So when I first started, I ate nothing but fruits and vegetables. And
wow,
I actually kind of felt a little bloated, and I felt a little tired. And I mean, I was feeling better than before, but it wasn't perfectly right. And I was worried it wasn't going to be sustainable. And then I remembered the starch solution, and I went back and read it. And then I centered all my meals around carbs. And, normally when you ask people what they're eating for dinner, and they just say, oh, I'm having chicken for dinner. And you kind of imagine what that is. This little piece of chicken, a little piece of broccoli, and like a little potato. That's what you imagine.
Yeah.
And so I had to change the way I imagined meals. And I said, oh, for dinner, I'm going to have potatoes, or I'm going to have rice, or I'm going to have, pasta or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that fixed it for me.
Yeah. I know that's something that I try to encourage like my clients to do too. It also has to do with calorie density, which we can talk about for sure. I don't think that people realize that just in general, plants have less calories, even these starchy foods, these potatoes. So not just one potato for day. If you're going to be eating dinner and you're going to be eating a whole food plant-based, you need a few potatoes. Like today I had 2 Japanese potatoes with a ton of broccoli for lunch. Like that just happened to be an easy lunch for me today. But I don't fear starch anymore. And I used to as well. When I transitioned, I actually started losing too much weight, and I called my dietitian friend and I was like, why am I losing so much weight? I was actually eating a ton of nut butter. It was very interesting. I couldn't keep weight on, but I was just not focusing on the right foods. I wasn't getting a good variety. And I think that you'll probably mention that too, Stacey. So so you've always been helping people with weight loss, and I want to know your strategy. What are the secrets to weight loss? And specifically for people who want to transition to this whole food, plant-based eating pattern. And also, Dr. Harrington, do you think that people need to eat completely whole food, plant-based? I mean, obviously you're vegan primary care. That's the bloodline of what you do, but in order to lose weight, like where do people start?
Okay, where do people start? Where do people say that? That was a good question. Like, what's the secret? Everything. I'll try to do my best to answer this.
It was loaded. We can unpack.
Yeah, it was a lot of things. So yeah, I'm always all the time trying to meet people where they are. Meet people where they are. I mean, I've had people like hunters like come to me, and like, I mean, I've had people in all sorts of spectrums of how far along they are into eating the whole food plant-based diet. Salt, oil, sugar-free would kind of be like the ideal way of eating. Then, ideal if you're really trying to lose weight, stick under, you've heard of Chef AJ and Dr. McDougall.
Oh yeah, under the 600 calories.
Right. Under 600 calorie per pound calorie density. This is ideal. And if you're really trying to lose weight, avoid nuts and avocado, not because they're unhealthy foods, but because they're kind of rich in calories. Nuts and nut butters. You can use Dr. McDougall's traffic light diet, where fruit, vegetables, and starchy vegetables tend to be green. And then the yellow lights is like tofu, dried fruit, nuts and nut butters, avocado, things like this that are sort of more rich. You can use them very sparingly or none at all when you're trying to lose weight. But gosh, you have to meet people where they're at. Some people like a challenge. Some people want to have things just kind of delivered on a silver platter, like eat this on Monday, eat this on Tuesday. So right. Kind of meet them where they're at on that.
Yeah. So where during this practice of yours, I mean, again, you've been helping people with the weight loss for a while. Where did you decide to create this program now that you're going to have on weight loss?
Thanks for introducing that. Yeah. So I've created the Vegan Primary Care 6-week health transformation. It's and it came about because one of the things with weight loss is it's an ongoing thing. It's an experiential thing. And just having one visit with your doctor might not be enough to kind of turn you around 180,
Mhm.
So I decided that what we need to do is we need to have sort of a daily check-in. So I've created a 6-week program where you have a daily check-in with me, groups of 10 people at a time. And then they will have a check-in with me. And then we will meet daily with experts, like a physical expert, a psychologist, have cooking demos with culinary experts, and then stress management, stuff like this. So, and then at the end of the day, turn in a food log. So there's some of accountability, and it's just between me and you or whatever. But that way you know that someone's kind of looking out for you, looking over your shoulder. And then periodically I would meet with the participants, and we kind of go over the trouble spots and things because everyone has different burdens. Everyone's dealing maybe a spouse that's not vegan, or just a very stressful job, or there's many things that could potentially get you veered off course.
Absolutely. So what do you find that people are struggling the most with when it comes to weight loss? I mean, you mentioned a few things just now, but do you think it's the palatability of the foods out there, and it's just really hard to get off this pleasure trap? Or do you think it's the programming that we've been told that we have to have, this amount of protein per day, which I am just here to say, I understand that people are very, science is unfolding, and we are learning a little bit more about, once we hit a certain age, maybe we should have a little bit more protein per body, per pound of body weight. That's understandable. But I see so many people in my atmosphere, in the nutrition atmosphere, minimum of 100 grams protein per day, tons of protein for women. And it's just, I'm like, whoa, there's got to be some major repercussions going on here. And I want to know from you, what do you think the biggest hurdle, especially with your patients, is in regards to weight loss? Is it just, the accessibility? Is it the wrong teachings? What is going on? Hey, before we get too far into this episode, I want to tell you about adaptogenic mushrooms. Now, if you've never heard of mushroom coffee, let me be the first to introduce you. And if you have heard of mushroom coffee, let me tell you a little backstory. I actually have been making my own mushroom coffee for years now. Basically, what I did was blended together different adaptogenic mushrooms and other adaptogens, such as ashwagandha and lucuma and other things, to help my body just deal with stress, to help support my thyroid, to help reduce cancer, to help reduce inflammation, help my gut health and my cognition, and more. And I am so excited to tell you that I no longer have to make my own, because I found an even better one. Now, if you've been following along at any length, you know that I've found this new European skincare brand. It's all based on olive leaf and the olive tree. And I have been getting great, wonderful, lovely results, because I've been not only using the skin products topically, but also taking some internal products that are based off of the olive leaf. And this new mushroom coffee that I found is no different. It is from the same amazing brand called Olive Tree People. And you can get all the details down in the show notes and shop. But the coolest thing about this mushroom coffee is that it not only has these beautiful adaptogenic mushrooms that help my body deal with stress and help me feel better and have better mental clarity and energy, but it also has anti-inflammatory chai spices such as turmeric and cinnamon and clove and ginger and black pepper and a little chili. And all of these support the immune system. In addition, there's a little bit of cacao to add depth of flavor. And the best part, it's made with ground olive leaf. Now, I have to do a whole episode really on the benefits of olive leaf, because it is phenomenal, the science that's behind this amazing plant that we don't talk nearly enough about. I know you hear about olive oil, right? But olive leaf is truly where the medicine lies. So I have been drinking, our whole family has been drinking this mushroom coffee that tastes just like chai, and it has the beautiful ground olive leaf in it. These olive leaves have never been touched by pesticides, chemicals, or anything outside of nature. And they come straight from the groves of Spain. And I am just excited beyond belief to share this brand new product that I have been drinking now for a month and a half, but it's finally out to the public. It's called Olive Mush. And again, it's from the beautiful brand called Olive Tree People, based in Europe. And you can get your hands on it right now. I want to encourage you, if you do go and shop the Olive Mush, I want to let you know, first off, you're going to be getting a recipe booklet from me. If you do buy Olive Mush, I am going to be launching a whole little booklet of whole food plant-based drinks and recipes using the olive mush, because let me tell you, you can actually bake with it too. You can make banana bread and other yummy goodies. But also that if you are going to be shopping for this olive mush and you add it to your cart, just know that it's always going to be free shipping over 50. So you'll get free shipping automatically, which is great. And then also the serving size says 30 servings per bottle. However, I find that I don't have to use a full tablespoon on my day-to-day drink. I actually use about a third of that. So the bottle will last you longer than 30 days. And if you have any questions about what skincare or other ingestibles to get, I highly suggest that you just DM me on Instagram or connect with me in any way on social media, and I will be happy to help you figure out what other olive leaf based products would be good for your skin and good for your gut and your mental and physical well-being. But I'm just beyond excited to share this olive mush with you. It has changed my family. It helps Cohen focus. It helps Kyle feel good. And it helps me feel astronomical. I just love it. And it tastes delicious. It's the best one I've ever tried. And I have tried 5 different brands, plus the one that I have been making for years. So it speaks volumes. And every single person that has bought it has loved it. So if you want to try mushroom coffee that tastes just like chai, just click down in the show notes. It's free shipping on $50 orders, and you can also stock up on the most amazing, beautiful olive leaf based skincare at the same time. All right, back to the show.
Well, one of the things that's weird is that there's a genetic component, and there's people who've, been heavy for a long time, and there's set points. And so there's a feeling like no matter what I do, I'll never make it,
Yes,
and
yes.
So that's a real thing. And so, the first thing I try to do is try to reassure people that it's all about consistency, and that, consistency is probably the hardest thing. And so spending time meal prepping and problem solving and trying to get yourself start doing process goals where you're practicing days, counting the days that you ate 100%, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So consistency is probably the biggest problem. Mm-hmm. But there's all sorts of issues. You have like the haters, you have the saboteurs, people who are, if your spouse changes, maybe I don't want to change, and so I'm going to sabotage my spouse from turning vegan and getting healthy because I don't want to change. And so with those kind of people, you have to, meet them directly and tell them that you have to make the change and, root out a saboteur. You have to.
Hard. Yeah.
And so that's key, like getting counseling for that. And then another big aspect is the food addiction aspect. And I've talked about this before. Ultra processed food is super addictive, and it's hitting on these dopamine pathways that drugs work on in our brain, and it makes it so that when we eat natural food, it just doesn't hit the same pleasure receptors. It's just not offering the same amount of food pleasure that we would get from natural food if you're used to eating the ultra processed foods. So in this instance, you really have to try to abstain as much as possible from salt and really ultra processed foods, because it kind of gets you right back on the craving cycle.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
Well, no, yeah. So the biggest thing probably is the consistency.
Yep.
And I think the biggest way to do that is with problem solving and doing like meal planning, meal prepping. And because I have this saying, if it's not easy, you'll eat sleazy. So you have to have it ready. You just have to have it ready, have your mouth is ready. You just got to put it right in your mouth, and you can eat as much as you want plant-based as long as you're under 600 calories per pound.
Yes. Okay. So you brought up a good point. I agree with you, Dr. Harrington, when it comes to the abstinence thing, at least for me. And I think that there's different levels of people with addiction of all sorts, right? And I think it's really important to just start to understand what type of person you are, and to recognize habits, past habits that you might have had. And for me, processed food, sugar, never led me to the obese category or even really the overweight category. But that was because I was on Adderall. Like there was a whole bunch of things. Like I still ate very junky, and I started feeling super uncomfortable in my body, but I could not stop. It was very, very addicting. So for me, when I found not just the whole food plant-based lifestyle, but the SOS free lifestyle, mainly SOS free, right? It was the abstinence that kind of pulled me out of the trap. Dr. Lyle and Goldhammer, their book, The Pleasure Trap, everybody needs to know about it. Like, but it really is a trap. And I felt forever that there was something wrong with me, that I was just different than everybody. And like, I didn't understand how people could just turn it off when it came to the cupcakes and stuff like that. Like if I had a cupcake, I would want another cupcake, and I would go seeking out the cupcakes or the sugar for several weeks after. And it was very, very hard until I did start that abstinence of the sugar and the salt and the oil. And I think that, it's hard for people to even imagine. And I definitely do have people in my life and clients that I've helped too, like you said, that they have that genetic component, and they've, this is just how they've lived their whole life. And it's really hard for them to see. It's even hard for them to envision anything different. So even them thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have to be abstinent from the things that I feel bring me joy. And then I also have to be consistent with it. I don't even know how I can do it. So if people are feeling that way, like you said, you meet them where they are, right? But for those types of people, what have you seen success with? Do you think that accountability piece? Is it giving them a meal plan? Is it kind of all of it put together, do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, it has to be desire to change a little bit. So in the medical world, they call it motivational interviewing. Coaching world, definitely, you've heard about motivational interviewing. But by the time someone signs up for like one of my plans or something, motivation is pretty good. They desire to change. Yeah. And then giving them accountability piece is nice because it's easy to feel like it's kind of like the workout partner thing. It's easy to feel like you let yourself down, like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow or something. Mm-hmm. But when you have someone who's, looking over your shoulder and wanting you to do well, and you're giving that positive feedback, and at first it can seem like when you're trying to have a weight loss goal, it can seem like, that I had to work this hard to lose 1 pound. That's a mountain I'll never climb. I'll never be able to put in that much effort. And so I'm always trying to reassure people, it's just taking it one day at a time, not get overwhelmed, and, focus on the process, not the goals. I try to kind of discourage the use of like weight goals, and try to encourage the use of process goals, like how many times I meal prepped, how many times I did 30 minutes of exercise throughout the day, how many times I got my 10,000 steps in. These are all these processes that work towards the ultimate goal. But if you get focused on the small weight changes or something that happen with like water weight or this or that, and then you can lose sight. And so
Yeah.
Definitely, having that, it's not to say hand holding, but giving them the hope and letting them see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot of practicing of reflection, which is really, really powerful. I've been learning just even in this root cause healing certification that I'm currently going through, the power of reflection and having people look back at those small wins. I think that that's so key. And it's really awesome that you brought that up, because that's part of the empowerment piece that people need to kind of realize I've actually made progress and I can continue to do this. And I do think that weight loss is really hard though, Dr. Harrington. So why did you choose 6 weeks for your program?
Well, I mean, I think 6 weeks is a good time to make a habit. It is, it's long enough I mean, the goal would be 6 to 10 pounds, so that, I know that you're not going to lose 30 pounds in 6 weeks. The goal would be to lose 1 to 2 pounds or less per week. But just having this kind of daily interaction was the goal. And 6 weeks, I feel like, is plenty long enough to have a habit form.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, all right, if you could give the listeners tips, specific food tips, where do people start? Do they need to be abstent of salt, sugar, and oil? Is that what you teach? Are you teaching more like the McDougall, where they can sprinkle some Bragg's liquid aminos on there? Are you teaching more like Goldhammer, completely SOS free? What is your approach?
Yeah, unless someone mentions that they're a food addict and they have maybe even potentially binge eating disorder type concerns. At first, I'm not too terribly, I'm not so adamant about the SOS free portion, because I have people that are going from an omnivore diet or like a keto diet,
Right.
and I'm trying to get them to go plant-based. And so, I mean, sometimes I take this stepwise approach with, of course, I encourage people that the more they go all the way, they're going to have more benefit. So, but all the way for me, for someone who is omnivore, is getting them to be plant-based. And so this can include, this is not a weight loss scenario. This is just me trying to get somebody converted. And at first I'll have them use any kind of substitutes. I tend to discourage the meat and cheese type of substitutes, but like in the very early stages, I'm trying to convince someone that they can convert over to being plant-based, vegan, without sacrificing flavor and taste and all this kind of thing. But that's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to get them on a whole food plant-based diet, salt, oil, sugar-free. And so, yeah, if you're Dr. Goldhammer and you have this whole institution ready for people to live in, and they have a buffet of salt, oil, sugar-free food that's there, that would be awesome. I could put them straight into an emergent situation. But with my patients, this is what we're talking about. So then I can incrementally move them forward.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are concerned about not getting enough sodium if they don't add salt to their food?
Yeah, so this is only a problem when you're like water fasting. Water fasting is very powerful. And the reason why one of the big reasons why they want you to do a medically supervised water fast is because you're not consuming any salt, that you get dizzy, because your body uses salt to help retain fluid and retain the blood pressure. And so whenever you hear about a hideous outcome related to some water fasting, it's like someone got dizzy and hit their head, cracked their skull open or something like that. Of course, that's not what we expect. And so that's kind of the thing that I worry about with that. Now, 1,500 milligrams of sodium is all that that's kind of like the recommended. Try to stay there or less. Or one sort of rule of thumb is to try to stay, if you are eating something packaged, if the sodium is higher than the calories, then if the sodium is higher than the calories, then you're going to get more than 2,000 calories, because we tend to focus on 2,000 calorie diet when we're talking with the nutrition labels. So, Yeah, salt is evil. Salt raises your blood pressure. It causes vascular damage, and it can cause joint pain and worsen rheumatoid. It can fan the flames of rheumatoid processes. And in terms of risk factors for global burden of disease, it's supposed to be the top. It's supposed to be like modifiable risk factor that increases death rate. The number one easiest one to deal with is sodium.
Yeah, it's just so interesting because I see so many people in the holistic world right now. And I talked with Dr. Will Bolsowitz about this just a few weeks ago too. They're just pouring these these salt. Have you seen these drinks that people are drinking? Like they're drinking salt.
Yeah. Well, this might come in the there's a popular diagnosis, POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, where people can have altered blood pressure regulation related to their neurovascular system. And people will get dizzy all the time, and doctors will be putting people on salt tablets. And I'm like, oh my God, salt tablets, you know. And yeah, it's, you know, when people come at me with this, I like to try to pick and pry and see if there are ways, if they're actually dealing with dizziness, if it's something related to their heart or some other problem. Now, you will also see like runners drinking electrolyte solutions and Gatorade and taking salt tablets and this kind of thing. This is only a concern if you're sweating profusely to increase, because you have lost electrolytes. Right. And it's an acute situation. So, but usually only if you're exercising in a hot environment over an hour where you're having so much electrolyte loss. And Gatorade tends to have too much sugar or whatever, so it's like a watered down, a half Gatorade type solution. So, is that what you were mentioning about the you're talking about just adding sodium?
I'm talking about these like element, like they're just, and not people who have like any medical issues, they're just doing it because it's trendy. And there's all these different flavors, and it's just, they're putting it in their daily drinks like all the time. And there's lots of doctors out there on social media that are saying more meat, more salt. And I'm like, oh my word.
You don't have to preserve your body with salt.
It's a little crazy. And they're just like, you'll pee out any extra salt. And it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of vascular damage that's going on in between.
Yeah.
Like, in between all of that pee. Okay. So anyways, I know that didn't really have very much to do with weight loss. I apologize. I just wanted to ask you what you tell people if they ever come to you with that concern. I don't think I've ever had anybody say, well, what's going to happen if I don't eat any more sugar? Am I going to be okay? Like, of course you're going to be okay. Like, we all know that sugar, you know, and then, okay. So do you, in this program, do you have a meal plan? Do you have guidelines for people to follow? Are you teaching about the calorie density so people can understand all that? Yeah.
So what we're going to be doing is modeling it off of the #1 study for weight loss that's ever been done. This is the BROAD study. It was a study in New Zealand. You may have heard about it. You may have heard on various podcasts. Basically, it was a plant-based diet. It was, they used a traffic light system. They talked about calorie density. And so what we're going to have is daily meal suggestions. It's going to include a large salad for lunch, steamed vegetables and a starchy vegetable for dinner. And but we're going to include training for things like nice cream and, creating your own hummus and different, no oil salad dressings. So we're going to have recipes for all of these that can help people sustain the effort with the program. And so, I just wanted to highlight Angela Fischetti.
Yeah,
she's going to be she's going to be the fitness expert. And so the participants once a week will be able to exercise along with Angela, and she's going to help give guidance for throughout the week. And so we also have Vicki Breck-Gach, who is a cooking expert, and she has lots of certifications, plant-based cooking certifications, and you may have seen her on Chef
Oh, she's
Asian.
the blonde, right? The
Yeah,
very
yeah,
light.
platinum hair, and
Yes. Oh, yes. She's wonderful.
yeah, she's got great cooking demos, and so it really and meal prep demos, and get you set off right for your week. So
lovely. And I know that. Well, yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, yeah. So we still getting the psychologist and the stress management expert. But you're going to be in good hands.
Wonderful. And how are people going to sign up for that?
You can just go to Vegan Primary Care 6-week program or Vegan Primary Care /weight loss, and you'll see the program.
Okay, awesome. And that starts, the first one starts in January, right?
It starts in January. Let's see, let me get 29 January. So perfect. Also in 8 April, 19 August, and 21 October for 2024. Perfect.
So you're going to run it 4 times in 2024.
Yep. 4 times per year. So
that's great. And I hope that you see, I mean, we hope that you don't see, but you likely will see people coming back, because they need that. They're going to realize they want that accountability, you know? And I think that that's key, that consistency. Now, before we wrap up here, I wanted to ask you, why do you have Angela, not just Angela, but why do you have an exercise component to this? Angela has been on the podcast, and she specializes in helping people move their body and learn about their biodynamics. And why is movement incorporated in this weight loss plan? And why should it be incorporated in any weight loss plan, do you think?
Well, the first and foremost, in the pearls of lifestyle medicine, with P for plant-based diet and E is exercise. And so, I mean, exercise, you know, there is a concern. Exercise can raise your appetite a little bit, but what you get from exercise, the metabolic benefits are such a big deal, and it helps you. I have a saying that that diet is the building blocks for your body shape, and that exercise is for mental health.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be anxious, it's hard to be overwhelmed, but when you've had exercise throughout the day. And so the more we can get people moving in the background, like we're doing right now, Stacey, is going to help them feel better and make faster progress. And so I think it's key. Angela was the first person that we brought onto the team. And so that's how important I think it is.
It's very important. And having more muscle mass helps us to raise our resting metabolic rate, right? So we're burning more calories at rest when we have a good, healthy amount of muscle mass on our body. And exercise is the only way that we're going to do that. We're going to build that, right? Strength training in particular. Absolutely.
Absolutely. To ignore that is to ignore, the second pillar of the lifestyle medicine. And I honestly think that diet is easier to adopt than exercise. When people are kind of looking at a plan initially, they tend to focus on what they're going to eat. And I think that's appropriate, because you can never outrun your mouth. Like you ruin your exercise, your calorie for the day by just making some bad food choices. But at the same time, the exercise is key to longevity. And just like you said, the muscle strength and the metabolism. And so that's somewhat harder, I feel, because what do we think of when we think of exercise? Exercise is painful. And with the pleasure trap, seek pleasure, avoid pain, and do things efficiently. Those are the 3 tenets of the pleasure trap. Yeah. And so avoiding pain, we all kind of want to avoid pain, and we want to do things efficiently. We want to kind of be lazy if possible. And so I think it's not sort of, we have to be prodded a little bit. Now, being in the military, one of the things I really liked about being in the military was they made you exercise. And so you couldn't complain about it. It was like, oh, got to exercise, and everyone's doing it. And so that, of course, why it's going to be part of the plan. So we're going to have, it will be remote like this, and we'll be doing the exercises together. So again, to get in the habit.
I want to be part of it. I don't have any weight to lose, but I want to be part of it because I want the accountability. I just want to stay on track. I want to be motivated. But okay, so Dr. Harrington, do you have anything else that you want to add that we have not covered tonight? Any messages, last words of hope for people? We're going to for sure link your program down below so everybody can get signed up if they are interested in losing weight in the new year. But any final words?
Well, once again, thank you for having me on. I just want to get the message out there. And, you know, whether you do the program or not, don't lose hope and stay vegan, go plant-based. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the environment, and you're doing it for the animals. And so there's so many reasons. Once you do it, you won't go back, because there's so many reasons that just all your morals align together. And so if this airs in January, go veganuary. You know, you got this if you're new to the plant-based diet. And you can always reach out to me and ask me questions or contact me about the program if you'd like, and I can get you some help that you need.
Awesome. Well, speaking of January, I know that you're going to be on a cruise speaking, and I'm going to look into trying to go. So if other people are listening to this, we'll get this aired before January, by the way.
Yeah.
If people are listening to this, Dr. Harrington is going to be talking on a cruise. Can you tell us what that cruise is?
Yeah, it's the Health Optimization Cruise.
Okay.
It's going to be on the Celebrity Ascent. It's a brand new, it's one of the largest cruise ships out there. And on the Health Optimization Cruise, there's going to be educational speakers like myself. Dr. Loomis from PCRM
Cool.
is going to be on the boat as well, amongst other speakers. There is it's going to be certified whole food, plant-based, vegan, SOS free. So the purpose of the Health Optimization Cruise is that you leave healthier than, you know, you come back from vacation healthier than when you left. So
love it. So cool. So cool. Well, Dr. Harrington, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for being on the Urban Pharmacy podcast and giving us your words of wisdom when it comes to sustainable and healthy weight loss. It really is so inspiring, and I really appreciate all the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.